Okay, looks like we are live. Let me just check YouTube. Whoops, wrong YouTube channel. Might help if I actually go to the right channel. Go to comments. Okay, yeah, so we are on there. And then let me just retweet it out.
Yeah.
Go back and grab the link. Man, I wish you didn't have to change things for different apps.
I know.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Yeah. They need to get together. They need to like find some synchronicity between all the different apps and programs.
Yeah, man.
I would assume that's easier to do. I wouldn't assume that would be hard. They can all talk to each other.
Even with like the thumbnails and stuff, like they're different sizes for different apps.
Yep.
Like, man, doesn't make any sense.
No.
Okay. I'll retweet it on FHL. Okay, cool. All right. Lawrence Johnson. Hi, Quaker Socialist. Quaker Socialist is always here.
Right. I love that. Yeah. I follow her on Twitter.
Yeah, she's awesome. Okay, so welcome to Sabby Sab Show on FHL. I have a great panel today. I have Savage Joy and Sharif Snuggs. Both are organizers for the Medicare March for All. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And Sabrina, before we get started, I thank you again for being MC for Boston. You fucking rock. You're amazing. We need more voices like you doing this. This is absolutely fantastic.
Thanks so much.
And thank you to Fred Hampton Leftists, because
absolutely.
You guys have been one of the core indie left, media people who have unwavering support for us. And
absolutely.
We just can't thank you enough. It's been incredible.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. You guys got shout outs in the chat. Really quick, guys. People have been asking us about Patreon, so we are moving away from Patreon. The best way that you can support FHL is through Ko-fi. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see kofi.com/FHL network. Scrolling across the bottom, that's the best way that you can support us. So let's get started. I want to talk about the marches for Medicare for All. Savage Joy, I'm going to start with you. I believe we have more cities on the list now.
We're up to 42.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so bananas. It's, people just keep reaching out and saying, you know what, we need to do one here. And we have some small towns in the mix and they're like, we may only get 15 people. Doesn't matter to us. You're still doing it. That's still 15 more people than are marching right now. So, I mean,
right.
It just keeps growing. In the past 2 days, we've gotten 4 more. So now we're at 42. I know one of them is Nevada. I want to say Reno.
Yeah, it's Reno. Yeah, it was Reno.
And then what was the other one?
I know Salt Lake is new. Reno is new. There's one in Connecticut. Other than there's one in Connecticut. There's one also in Maine. I don't know exactly where in Maine. Damn it! There's so many. Yeah, I'm still shocked that we're still onboarding new cities. It's crazy how people just can't turn it out for it. And it goes back to what we said the last time we was on your show, is that we just want people to participate any way how they can, and if they want to start any sort of like rally, march, car caravan, they want to do a bike run, They just want to stand on a corner somewhere with a sign that says "March for Medicare for All." Woo, you know, something, anything. We count that. You know, once we talk to the organizers and see what their plan is and see what they're doing, it's pretty much, we don't say no. I mean, we just really let anyone do whatever they want.
We have I believe it's Chicago doing a cookout.
Yeah.
So we have one that's virtual, and
Right.
you know what I mean? So even if you think, oh man, you know, it's going to be hot, we don't want to march, you know, one of them is doing a vigil. So it's not necessarily just marches. The reason it's called that is because we started with one and it was a march.
Right.
And then as more people came on, it's just like, well, I don't know if we could do a march, but we could do a picnic or you know, a cookout or something. Absolutely. Hell yeah. It's still for the cause. It's still bringing people together. It's still, you know, demanding, you know, a better humanity. It still serves the purpose of getting together and fighting for something that is necessary.
Right. Yeah.
I'm actually going to share my screen really quick so I can show everybody the list.
Yes.
If you guys can see here. Yep. So this is all the locations, you guys. New Mexico, Georgia, Minnesota, Boston, Chicago, Columbus. I'm not going to read all of them, but you can, if you go to the m4mforall.org site, you can see all the locations. So this is going to be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting a little choked up. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, seriously.
That's just, oh my God. I can't believe like that is what has come to fruition after, you know, just doing this, excuse me, I joined 3 months ago when there were 3. So in the past 2 months, it's gone from 3 to 42.
Jeez, that is crazy.
It is. It really is. And one of the things, well, there's 2 things that I always like to highlight. Number one is that we are not an organization. We are just individual activists from across the country. So nothing like this has ever been done because we're just people. We're not a group. We're not an organization. We are just people who met online, who said, you know what, we're sick of this shit. Let's do something. So this is pretty much as grassroots as it gets.
Right.
And then also the thing is, you know, a lot of us are hardcore burners and we were feeling like, holy shit, like we have no hope now. Byrne can't run again. This is, you know, he was cheated again. What are we going to do? And I think these 42 locations are showing us that it really is not me, us. It doesn't have to just be total defeatism. Like we can still do these things. We can still fight for what we deserve.
Yeah, this just goes to show you guys it doesn't have to be attached to an election.
Absolutely.
No, it does not.
Joe Nice DJ said the original 3 were Seattle, LA, and DC.
He's right. Yeah, Joe Nice is going to be one of the speakers in DC, and I'm really excited about that. He's super active in our group. We have so many people. Like normally, in my experience, speakers don't really get too engaged with the actual march or the planning of things. And this, March for Medicare for All, people are just asking, "What do you need? What can I do?" And that's so powerful to see that. There's so much behind the scenes work with a lot of activists, organizers, speakers, community. All the people in the community are saying that, what can I do? People just volunteering to make signs. People donating money, lending out. One of Joy's friends is going to lend her a tent just in case if it rains. It's like just so many different things like that. It's just like so powerful. It's just truly grassroots. Nothing that we're all just chipping our own money for the most part. Paying for all this, none of us really can afford it, and it's just shocked that I'm just surprised that we're getting so much of some community support for this, because again, it just shows that how bad people really want this. You know, it really speaks to the rot of the system, because I don't think we're doing anything special. I think that people are coming out and doing this is because they don't have a voice. They feel like they're unheard. And I think that if that wasn't the case, I don't think this march would have been as successful. I mean, granted, we didn't have the march yet, but we're getting so many people asking on a daily basis, how can I volunteer? How can I be involved? And it chokes me up to hear that, because I wasn't expecting people to be so engaged with this. You know, I'm astounded. I thought it was going to have one march. That was it.
Yeah, I know, like, because in the beginning, I didn't know that there were going to be more marches either. I thought it was just going to be those 3.
Yeah.
That's all I thought when I joined on.
We did not. We didn't plan for that. And it just shows you too, like, a lot, because I'm a new activist and organizer. I just started doing this. A lot of people don't know that, and some people think I've been doing this for a long time. And I was just doing a direct action training earlier today, because I'm still learning, doing research, asking members of my community, what can I do to be more effective organizer? And it just shows you, that there's no such thing, because there's so much things you can learn along the way. So granted, even though this is my first time doing it and I have a lot to learn, but anyone can just jump in and just do it. And you learn a lot. I learned a lot from Joy. I learned a lot from Ricky. I learned a lot from Renee. I learned a lot from other people who's done this before, asking them questions and just, what should I do? How do we go about this? How do we go about that? What is your strategy for this? And because I actually dedicated the time to do that, other than to say, how can I be effective? I literally threw myself in there, wanting to be an organizer and say, we need to do this. We need to have a march.
I mean, we all started somewhere. We
Right.
all started. I remember my first march. Holy crap! It was a march for Bernie in 2015, and I picked up a megaphone for the very first time. I was shaking. I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I was like, oh my God, there's like over 200 people here. Oh my God. And I mean, you could my voice was quivering. It was, and now I'm like, I go on, shows every day. I've had my own show for 4 years. I'm going to be the MC in DC, and it's just, you start somewhere, and then
Right.
It just gets to the point where you're like, people are going to talk shit. Fuck them. Like, whatever. This is about learning. This is about coming together. This is about wanting to better humanity. That's what it comes
Right.
down to. You're always going to have naysayers, but at the end of the day, like, there are way more supporters than haters.
Agreed. And
Agreed.
another thing too, someone mentioned this in the chat. They said that this is probably going to be on the news. That is very true. All of the marches here in Boston are covered on the news, and this is going to be good too, because this is going to get the word out to people in DC, especially the march in DC, to Joe Biden, to Kamala Harris, to let them know that we want healthcare for everybody in this country. They can't really continue to sit back and ignore it at that point, because I'm pretty sure the DC march is going to be the largest one.
I would say DC, LA, and Seattle, because they started so early. Mm-hmm. There's more ground game in those 3 places.
And New York too, though.
Yeah, New York too, a little bit. Yeah, I would say Chicago's also doing pretty well. Our organizers in Chicago are doing a fantastic job. The North Carolina organizers are doing a fantastic job. This is based on just the conversations I'm having with them, just jumping into their Zoom meetings and stuff like that. I'm just seeing so much support on those areas. And again, it speaks to the level of experience that organizers have, like in Chicago and North Carolina, and even also in Seattle, where that they can just, like, a moment's notice, they know who to call, they know who to reach out to, and they'll get people there for sure.
Awesome. So I know you guys, wanted to address some things. There have been some attacks on organizers who have been organizing some of these marches, and there were some things that were said that were not true. And I want to give like Joy and Sharif a chance to explain that.
Yeah. Joy, Joy, you should go first, Joy.
So, it's the past 2 weeks have kind of been hell. I'm not going to lie. But so essentially, a week and a half ago, that Sunday, I got a text like, what the fuck is this? And it was some guy, I forget, Heitman, I think is his, Heimbach is his last name, Matthew Heimbach. And it was a meme that said Matt H. Bach. And I was like, I don't know who that is. So, but then I thought he looked familiar. So I kind of looked it up, and Matt H. Bach came up as a scientist. So I was like, I don't, like, he looks familiar, but I don't know who that is. So anyway, then came our meeting 10 minutes later, and it was just like, holy shit. Someone got into our chat, you know, had the meme made, things like that. The Daily Beast actually reached out to Matthew Heimbach, and who said he's never heard of us. He never talked to us. There was no march in Indiana scheduled. He had no knowledge of anything to do with this. So even though we came out with a statement saying as such, and they asked him himself, and he said, look, who the hell's a white supremacist that wants Medicare for all? But anyway, I digress. Maybe they exist somewhere. But, you know, it was proven. We never talked to the dude, ever. There was never a march in Indiana, ever. Right. And right. They also tried to say that the guy who created Garfield was a speaker too. Like, it was so random. Right. But anyway, we caught one of the people. We put him on blast on Twitter less than 24 hours later. However, even though it's been debunked, we are still dealing with attacks. Right. And these are people who not Dem establishment, not Trump supporters. They are people who consider themselves leftists. They are, I had to lock my Twitter account last night because I am getting threats. We have had a black speaker drop out because she is being called a Nazi. We had
two black speakers drop out, actually.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So these are like literally people of color are being harassed and called Nazis. Right. I am having my blindness mocked and made fun of. I am receiving screenshots of threats. These things for something that was proven to be false. It was proven we had nothing to do with it. But there are people who want to see us fail. And what it comes down to is you're trying to hurt us, but you're hurting Medicare for all most, because you're giving the establishment a reason to discount what we're doing. Because when we have thousands of people in the streets across the country, now people like Joe Biden could say, well, but people are saying they're Nazis. You're helping that. That's what you're doing by spreading lies and slander. We've addressed it. It's been proven false. It doesn't matter to some people. But yeah, because I do have a somewhat of a bigger account, I'm really... Someone made a 6-minute video about how I'm lying about going blind, and they're going to call Social Security to tell them I'm a fraud. Like, these are people who are literally threatening, like, my lifestyle, like threatening, making fun of me for losing my sight, saying, yeah, you can talk about her all you want because she can't see it anyway. Things like that. These are not allies. These are people who pretend to be allies, but these are people who are attacking our speakers to the point that Charles Booker had to drop out the morning after he announced, because they are only going after our speakers of color and women. That's all they're doing. So, people are feeling threatened.
Also, too, they're targeting certain speakers. They know that either A is probably running for office or B planning to run for office, and they're using that and saying, hey, this is not going to look good for you. You better not support the March for Medicare for All. You better drop out. You're going to have to drop out if you do that. And so it's strategic because they're targeting certain people. Because they're not doing it to everybody. Because I'm paying attention on Twitter what speakers they attack and what speakers they don't. If they did it to all the speakers, then I can understand that, you're just being malicious for the sake of malicious. But they're strategically looking for, okay, I know if I target this person, they're probably going to drop out. Because it makes no sense that other speakers are not getting that same, slack, and certain speakers are. So it's very strategic. They're doing this on purpose to certain speakers.
It is. It's all people of color and women.
Right.
And, that's definitely strategic. And that is to purposely make us look bad. Because, oh my God, look all the people of color and women who are dropping out. Well, hate to break it to you, but we still have over 300 speakers across the country. So
we have speakers we haven't announced yet because we didn't have the time to really announce them. And I've actually talked to the team about maybe not announcing so many more speakers for the same reason of maybe people may drop out because of this backlash that we're getting. I don't think it's too important, to let everyone know what all the speakers are we're going to have at these marches. You just get a taste of what's to come, It's
a shame that we're being put in that position, though, that people want to say, hey, guess what? I'm going to be speaking, but they're too trepidatious to say it.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I do want to tell people, too, is that this is not uncommon for someone to infiltrate a movement. It happened with Bernie's campaign, with both of his campaigns.
Yep.
So that is not uncommon.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sabrina. I'm sorry.
Okay, because David Williams in the chat said you should ask Susan Sarandon. Is she? I'm trying to remember. Is she gonna be there? I can't remember.
We have messaged her. She has not gotten back to us, but she follows me on Twitter. I've PM'd her. She hasn't seen the message. We don't have anything concrete. We think if she comes, it's probably going to be last minute, to be honest, because she's been protesting for Julian Assange literally every day. So we don't, it's not solidified if she comes, but we have reached out to her and she has shared some of our tweets.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, so I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk about that because I've noticed it on Twitter too. It's not coming from the right. It's coming from people on the left. And I just want to say this, whether you agree with the marches or not, whatever. If you don't agree with it, that's your right. But to come after activists and organizers who are trying to get health care for everybody in this country, that's not cool. That's where I draw the line. You can agree respectfully and not troll people.
Yeah, that's the thing too. People are purposely attacking Joy. Not so much me. I don't get much because Joy has a platform. So because Joy has a platform, they do, again, everything is strategic. They know a lot of people online know that I'm part of the march. And they know that I'm very vocal, I'm very active. And so I don't really get many people, bothering me or harassing me. But Joy has a platform, so they're doing it because by attacking her, it takes away the validity of the march. So this is why they're doing that, because you know what I mean. It's who am I? I'm no one really important. I'm just one of the organizers for the march. But Joy has a platform. After this march is over, she's still gonna have a platform. So they're purposely doing that to her because they want to take down the march.
And they are the same exact people who were threatening and harassing me during Force the Vote. The same exact people. Now, so they're essentially, Force the Vote? No. March? Also no. Well, what the hell you want to do?
Right.
Just electoral politics? How the hell is that going for you?
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's the fact that if Bernie or squad members or anybody like that are not endorsing something, then it goes against what they're doing. You know what I mean? Right. It really comes down to, we're a very tribalist country, and we follow anybody else who's doing who's doing an action. That's what it comes down to. You know, I had people already, who tell me already that, why are you guys doing a march? Why now? And they have so much negative things to say about us trying to get people healthcare. And I think it comes down to the fact that, the messaging is the fact that, where is it coming from? Who's doing it? What organization is doing it? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a politician. It just means that if an org that they represent or an org that they agree with that also is doing it, then it's okay. And so we're very tribalistic. That's where it comes out. A lot of times it has nothing to do with the fact they don't want it. They're just against who's doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many of the attacks I'm getting say, she's criticized AOC. She deserves this. Like, your deity is more important than a freaking blind girl organizing 16-hour days. Like, we're all doing this shit for free. We're all volunteers. We're just passionate. So, like, you think the fact that I've criticized AOC warrants being called a Nazi, being threatened, stuff like that? Like, you're a garbage person, period. Right. And they have these cultists, these people who just think they are the greatest thing ever. And when they post something, they just, comment after comment. Yeah, they're garbage. They're horrible. They're grifters, or, this absolute nonsense. And it's like, why don't you freaking do something productive for once? Why don't you freaking, actually do something? You don't want to force the vote? You don't want to march? Do something.
I'd love to know.
Doing.
I'd love to know what their strategy is. I was like, I'll follow their lead. If you don't want to follow our lead, we'll follow your lead. What plans or strategy you think is better? And I mean that. I'm not being sarcastic. They never have a response to that. They never have an answer. It's baffling to me that people can just be so benign to like strategy that they just want to obfuscate for the sake of obfuscating.
Yeah. One thing I want to remind people too is that you can't wait. This is my philosophy. You cannot wait for politicians and the government to create change in this country, because if that were the case, we wouldn't have had a civil rights movement. If we would have waited for the government to say, okay, yeah, let's not have separate but equal anymore. Let's let Black people and white people go to the same schools. That would have taken forever. It's movements that push the government to make those changes. Just like same thing with the women's rights movement. So if you want to sit back and wait for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to give people everyone health care in this country, good luck.
Thank you for saying that, Sabrina. Seriously, you're absolutely right, because every piece of social movement in this country started with us, started with the people. It never started with a politician. No matter, you can look back in history, pinpoint any example, it's never coming from the government, it's always coming from us. Every single one.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we need more people to hold these politicians accountable. And we're seeing, there's someone with a D next to their name and office, even though we're totally a Republican. But that means back to brunch. We're seeing people, don't you dare criticize the squad. You're a horrible person. They're on our side. We're seeing so much lack of accountability. And that is not going to bring change. Bringing change is, hey, we elected your ass when you called yourselves activists. We elected your ass when you said you would fight tooth and nail for Medicare for All. You're tweeting about it like once every 6 months. Right. And we're supposed to make excuses for you? No. I don't give a shit who you are. You are not a deity. You are not, above being criticized.
Right.
But to these people attacking us, they are.
Right.
I just want to remind everybody that politicians are public servants. They're supposed to be serving the public. So all politicians, in my opinion, are up for scrutiny.
Absolutely.
It just is what it is. If you're not doing your job, I mean, come on, look at the job that you have currently. Right. If I wasn't doing my job at work, I'd be criticized.
You know, it's so funny. I say that all the time, Sabrina. I says I'm a server, right? So I work at iPick Entertainment in downtown Manhattan. If I go to work late, I'm fired. If I don't clean the cinema, I'm fired. If I don't do anything at my job, I'm fired or written up. Why is it okay for politicians to clock into work and not do their job, and you say something about it, you're being a bad person? You know, everyone who criticizes us, you work for a living, hopefully, right? If you don't do your job, you're getting fired. It's simple as that. So why is it different for politicians? I want someone to explain that to me because I don't understand that.
And also, you know, these in brand new Congress, you know, the squad was brand new Congress. They literally had to sign contracts that said, if we endorse you, you will agree to fight for Medicare for All. They literally signed contracts.
Wow.
So, you know, the fact that they are, you know, blatantly ignoring our pleas. Anyone who has issues with people complaining and criticizing politicians that we don't have Medicare for all, there's one word: privilege. That's it. It's privilege. You got yours. You have no one in your family or yourself who's hurting, who's suffering. People like myself with thousands of dollars in medical debt and just became disabled last year. You don't get to speak for me.
Right.
Fuck that. You don't get to tell me when is a good time. No, you're privileged. And that's what it comes down to. So many of our people who are speaking and organizing are people who have suffered at the hands of our violent system.
You know, also too is the fact that certain politicians, you know, I hate to pick on AOC all the time, but she's a celebrity. She's a celebrity first, politician second. So she's in a whole different category. You know, if we criticize Ted Cruz, people are like, okay, of course you can criticize Ted Cruz. He's a Republican, whatever. People just have that in their brain. That's acceptable. But to criticize AOC is not acceptable because she's on Vogue magazine. You know, she has her own merchandise now. She's all over the place. She's being marketed. She's being marketed to no end, not like a typical politician. So she's in a whole different category now. Like, she's not a politician anymore. She's a celebrity. She's a brand. So you're attacking the brand. You're not attacking the person. So that's a completely different argument. You know, if you have another politician come around, you criticize them, people wouldn't care as much. You know, same job, did the exact same thing. AOC, completely different.
Yeah, she was actually on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right. Think about that.
Which is just so bizarre to see a congresswoman on a reality show. And yeah, the cover of Vanity Fair and so that, I mean, she was made into a celebrity. That's what happened. And you know, she lost sense of her priorities.
Noli D said, 4 years I've tried to get a meeting with my representative, 4 damn years, still nothing but crickets, 10 grand a plate, and I can talk to her for 10 seconds.
Yep. Sounds about right. And you know what's so funny too? Like, I talk to people about, like, because AOC is my representative. I live in Jackson Heights. So I went to her office, I've called her, I've emailed, I've actually spoken to her. I want to see her secretary when I during around the time of forced to vote. So these people, they don't show up to the office, they don't answer the phone, they don't answer an email, you can't get to them. So before anyone say, like, oh, you're being hard on this person, I went there for months. I have other people that live in New York with me who also did the exact same thing. So the argument of saying that, wait, county representative, you know, they're fighting for you. If you can't even get a hold of these people and even ask them a question and ask them how they're going to do this, you know, that's a problem. That's a problem. I don't care who it is. I don't care what your representative is. If you can't get a hold of them, they're not going to answer your phone call or email or text or anything. That's a problem.
And I've heard from other people too that have had that same problem. Like I always tell people, like, contact your representative, and there are some people doing that, but if they can't get a hold of them, I mean, what are they supposed to do?
Right.
I think I'm going to call and say I'm from Vogue magazine.
That's a good one.
No,
That's a good
seriously, I
one.
think I'm going to try that. I'm going to do that.
I love that. That's hilarious.
I mean, I interviewed her, but I guarantee she doesn't remember who I am. So
probably not.
One of the things that's come up about Medicare for All. I know, our goal in the beginning when Bernie was running was to get it for, federally, like for everybody, right? But obviously that's not we can't even get he said he was going to expand Obamacare, and now that's not even happening. I don't know what's going on. So obviously that's not the thing. So I know some people were like, no, let's not do it through the states. But honestly, I think this is our best shot because I live in Massachusetts, and a lot of the things that we are still asking for the federal government to do, Massachusetts has already done it on the state level. We're not fighting for 15 minimum wage here. We already have that. Right. We're not fighting for shoot balls. What was the other one? Balls, I forgot. Oh, the workers' wages. So this is another one that I wish more politicians would talk about. So Massachusetts has made it, this is like a year old, has made it so that if you go apply for a job, they cannot ask you what your current salary is. And I think that's one of the best laws they've made here because it holds a lot of people back. It's things like that. Like Massachusetts already did them. Like people don't have to fight before the Supreme Court passed where everybody, like gay people, could get married. Massachusetts already had it.
I think any strategy you should do. I don't see how like one strategy should be like hold over the other. I think that people who think that, if you do this one strategy and negates another strategy, I think, I don't think they understand like how legislation works. I just think that those talking points are designed to confuse us and to cause us to fight. The infighting that we're having right now is because we believe that one strategy is going to cancel out the other strategy.
Right. And
Yeah.
and the other thing is too, like in the end, we end up with nothing. And VSA or VS Adams just brought up another one. This is the one I forgot about. Weed is being legalized state to state. Yes. See, we already have that here too. And we have shops for that. So, and look at all the states that have gone on to legalize marijuana now. Virginia.
Right.
Well, that's actually a different thing though, because the government makes money off of that, right? Because it's taxed. Right. Medicare for All would actually hurt the cronies who are
right.
Who love big pharma and everything like that. So it's actually opposite of marijuana legalization. I support anyone to do anything they say they believe in. However, I don't see it being feasible that places like Alabama or West Virginia, I don't see it feasibly happening, and that's one of the reasons I'm to me universal means universal,
right?
And the other fear I have with state by state is that you will see establishment Republicans, whoever, try to destroy every little thing wrong when the first state would come out, and then it would be to them a reason to not add on additional states. While I support, if you want to do it in your state, hell fucking yeah, do it. But I want people to be realistic of, potential outcomes.
Right. For sure.
Mm-hmm. David Williams said backwards ass Florida voted to raise the minimum wage to 15, just like blue California. That's a good point. That just goes to show you it doesn't have to be a blue state where these changes are happening. Joy, you mentioned West Virginia, and the sad thing about that is like West Virginia, it's one of the poorest states in this country.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I believe, well, last I checked, a few months ago, they were still the #1 state in food stamp recipients um, and medical assistance. So but unfortunately, electorally speaking, they do vote against their best interests. Like we see that with Manchin, like Paula Jean, who's speaking at her DC rally, ran against him, who is hardcore Medicare for All and stuff like that. But they voted against their own interests.
Right.
So it's very difficult to because let's face it, in order for something to pass statewide, we absolutely need the reps to be on the side of that. We need it. There's literally no other option if you're doing it statewide. And to me, it's like even the reps who say they're for Medicare for All aren't even doing shit for it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to discourage anyone. I fully support everyone doing any strategy whatsoever. I just think it's way more feasible to demand it universally.
Because people won't get left out. It's I definitely understand both arguments. That let's say if we pass it, whole Washington State looks like it's going to be the first state to probably get it, in my opinion. They're doing a lot of good work getting the ballot initiative. If Washington State gets it, then a lot of other states would feel like, what about us? That's kind of selfish. But I kind of look at it the opposite way, because I feel like no other state is going to allow, their state not to have it now. Because now if everyone's saying, look at this example over here, it works. Why can't we have it? So now there's more of a groundswell because you're the first to jump in. The power of being first matters. Being first opens the door for so many other possibilities. And I think that all the states that can't afford it, they're going to have to, there's no more lip service at that point. New York can't say anything. California can't say anything. Texas can't say anything because their constituents and people on the street is going to say Washington State has it. Washington State has it. Washington State has it. Why don't we have it? There's no wiggle room around that now. You can't argue, and that's why they don't want it. You think if Medicare for All, statewide, national, whatever it is, when we get it, and I believe we will get it. It'll be the biggest fight. It will be the biggest fight we ever had, because once we get that, everything else is possible. Everything else is easier. Look at other countries that have healthcare. When they do protests, they're not worrying about their healthcare. You know what I mean? When they fight for social safety nets, healthcare is not a topic they're worrying about. And this is why here in this country, we don't have healthcare here, because once we get that, we're a little bit invincible in an interesting way. We can fight for other social issues.
Right. Greg, I'm gonna comment on that in just a second, Sharif, and to something that Savage Joy said too. I just want to point this out real quick. Greg said Laura from Whole Washington has shared multiple MMT experts saying that state by state could help get the ball rolling. So that's good to know. Joy, when you mentioned Paula Jean Swearingen, I'm glad you brought her up, because I want people to pay close attention to what Joe Manchin is doing. Like, you see him on the news like all the time now. You see the kind of leverage that he has. This is why, and this is coming from someone who I don't have a lot of faith in electoral politics. I'm very open and honest about that. But even coming from me, this is why it was so important that we got Paula Jean in. Now, you guys see what he's been doing. You see the power that he has, the leverage that he has. It still boggles my mind that people did not vote for her.
I know. And you know what? The thing is, I really wish the squad fought for us half as hard as he fought against us. I really do.
Right.
Agreed.
Right.
Going to some of the comments in the chat. There's a lot of comments. Sorry. Okay, this is important. Creative Experiment said, simply apply for free state health care. I applied and my dental appointment was paid for 100%. You just need to file taxes and prove you qualify. I think the only thing about that is it's different in every state.
Right.
Not everybody has that option. And again, that's something you have to qualify for, and not everybody meets the qualifications. But it was a good thing to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth looking into. I used to work for medical assistants, so I used to have to tell people who made like $100 too much, and then I would kind of be like, "Can you just call out a day and then send me your next week's pay stubs?" Which may or may not have been legal. I'm not sure, but like in my case, I haven't had income for 18 months because of applying for Social Security disability. Finally got approved. It starts this month, but my husband works full time.
Mm-hmm.
We do joint taxes. So, some states, like literally, I mean, their so-called poverty guidelines are very different from what actual poverty is. Like they think if you make I know when I was working in medical assistance, poverty was considered $16,987, I believe. It's like yeah, it's actually more than that, because living is a hell of a lot higher than that. So people have, and this is Pennsylvania. So like you said, it is definitely different in all states. So it's worth looking into. And also some states do have Medicaid expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Not all states do. It's only a few. So that would also be advantageous if states would sign on to that.
Right.
Yep. VS Adams said Paula Jean is a coal miner's daughter. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if you haven't seen what was it, Knocking Down the House?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, if you haven't seen that, you should definitely watch that. Even if just to watch Paula Jean's story, because one of the things she did in that documentary is she was driving around through West Virginia and she just pointed to different houses and she was like, that person has cancer, that person has cancer, that person it is insane. And just imagine if those people don't have health insurance. Right. And the reason why so many people have cancer there is because of the pollution, the toxic pollution from the companies that is in West Virginia. And that's still continuing. That's still going on. That's why I don't understand why they would vote for Joe Manchin.
Jesus. Fear. That's what it sounds like.
And cognitive dissonance. I think that as well. Yeah. Acknowledging we are fucked. Acknowledging the politicians really don't give a shit about us. That is a very daunting thing.
Right.
It is a rude awakening that that's why I say, Bernie really did give us a free education, because so many of us were like, holy shit, this happens. Right. And it's hard to reckon with that once you realize just how bad everything is. Right. So yeah, I think that's part of it.
It is very, very much so part of it, for sure.
Yeah, my awakening was Obama, and that really, when I say that hurt, you guys, that hit me right here. And even though he tried with healthcare, he gave people Obamacare, and I've heard a lot of negative things about Obamacare, but he didn't go as far as he could have with healthcare in this country. Some people blame the Republicans or whatever. I don't. Because he had Democratic House, Democratic Senate for 2 years. And I want you to pay close attention to Biden too, because don't be surprised if the Republicans take back the House and the Senate come the midterms, and then they try to say, oh, let's try to, vote for, healthcare for everybody. Let's introduce that expansion to Obamacare. Don't be surprised if that happens, because then they'll be able to use the excuse, oh, well, it didn't pass, but we had a Republican House and a Republican Senate. If they really wanted to do it and they saw it a sense of urgency, they would do it immediately we wouldn't be waiting on this.
Right.
There's actually something, a place called Libby, Montana. And there's, what is it, Sharif? 18A?
Oh, 1881A of the Social Security Act. If there's a global pandemic, the president has the power to enact Medicare for all for every citizen in America.
That's in Biden's power.
Right.
And we're in the middle of a deadly pandemic.
Yep.
A lot of people thought it was over, but
It's
there's
not over.
screens and what have you. So if during this shit, he's like, I'd veto it, it's time to take to the streets. I don't know what people are waiting for.
Right. And you know, the funny thing is, Joe Biden recently said he wants people to get vaccinated because cases are going up. We have a new strand of the COVID out there.
Yep.
So you're literally telling people, hey, I know cases are going up, get vaccinated, but I'm not going to do anything about it.
Basically.
It's up to you. Get vaccinated. Wear a mask.
Yeah, and I mean, so we had a couple people just join, and I think they may have missed what you said previously to this, Sharif. Can you repeat that one more time? That what you said is in Joe Biden's power to do?
Oh, so Joe Biden, because we're in a global pandemic, Joe Biden has the power to enact Medicare for all for everybody under the Social Security Act of 1881A.
Everybody heard that?
Yeah, he's not going to do it, but he has the power to do so.
It started because this place called Libby, Montana, something was happening where their air quality was horrible and people were dying and getting sick. So this was legislation was enacted where they would just all get 100% healthcare in this town, like no bills, no nothing, 100% covered. And there was no stipulation in the legislation that said Libby, Montana. So it could be applied to literally anywhere in the country.
Right.
And another thing too, I want to bring to people's attention when people say, well, I have health insurance, I'm fine, I'm all set. That's only because you have a job. Right.
Me too. I'm in that situation. I actually have a job. A lot of people don't know, like, I actually have healthcare do my job. I didn't have healthcare during the pandemic because I was furloughed. So I got reinstated back in March. So I got healthcare when I actually went back to work. So if I got sick or anything bad happened, you know, I was shit out of luck. My kids were also shit out of luck because, again, my healthcare covers me and it covers my family. But it's very expensive. And, you know, the reason why I'm in this fight is not because, you know, I'm trying to get healthcare for my family, is because I think that it's so cruel that I have to pay so much money. I pay more money for my health insurance than I actually pay for my rent. You know what I mean?
And, you know, that's another, such a privileged take. I mean, I've had health insurance for 42 years. Last year, I woke up mostly blind. That insurance still has me thousands in debt. My eye treatments were over $12,000 each eye every 30 days, with insurance still over $1,000. So, yeah, that's great. You have health insurance. Awesome. Good for you. That doesn't mean tomorrow you're not going to have something catastrophic happen.
Right. Mm-hmm. And they won't cover it because my health insurance doesn't cover everything. You know, I don't get covered for everything, you know. And so the idea is that when we talk about Medicare for all, single payer, we're talking about everything is covered. Everything is covered. And, you know, right now, if you want, I mean, we're seeing Medicare for all right now. If you go to the doctor for COVID testing, it's free. You want to get vaccinated, it's free. You know, I didn't get a bill for that. You know, I don't even have to let them know I have insurance. You know, I just get vaccinated. That's it.
Absolutely. And I've also had people have sent me like screenshots of medical bills that they've had ever since like I announced that I was going to be MC for the Boston March. And you can see like on their bills where like the insurance company paid their portion and the amount that they are left to pay. And some of these screenshots were like insane. Like I was like, you really want them to pay $1,000?
Yeah, when I first started going blind, they literally were denying me because my what I have is so rare, my diagnosis. They were denying me. So I, my eyes now, I'm 85% blind, and I cannot help but wonder, could I have prolonged it if they didn't keep saying I couldn't have my treatments? So
Right.
they would say, you can't have your treatments unless you sign this paper that says you will pay this $24,000 every 30 days in case they don't pay it. No, I can't do that. So I'm going to have to keep calling out of work because I can't see, and I'm going to have to keep having no pay, no sick time, no nothing, because I got to wait to keep appealing this shit. So, and then like now, I've given my soul to these marches. I can't even march because I have a cane, and it's going to be uneven ground, traffic, all that shit. I cannot risk marching 2 miles because my insurance does not cover out of state.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And even if you're not in Savage Joy's position, it's one of those things where a lot of people don't think about it until something happens to them.
Right.
And then they get hit with all those medical bills and they realize like, oh my God, I have to pay so much money because the insurance company only covered so much. Yimwish said something in the chat I wanted to bring up about the marches. He said, what can we do if there are no demonstrations where we live? Any tips for organizing? Do you need resources or can you still do it if you're broke?
Yeah, you can definitely do it when you're broke. Absolutely. One of the free ways of actually, if you want to organize your own march, you can literally do a car caravan. If he drives, him and his buddy can get a car, get poster boards, stick it on the car, march for Medicare for All on the car. We have bumper stickers you can actually purchase with little to no money. You can put it on the car and honk around, do honk your horn and drive around. It's really stuff like that can be fun. You can also live stream. We're going to live stream a few of the marches. You can hold
also,
yeah.
one of the things you can do is have a vigil for all the people we've lost. Everyone in the universe has at least one candle in their house or a lighter.
Right.
So just, put up an event and say, hey, I live in XYZ. When it starts getting dark on the 24th, what we're going to do is we're going to gather for a vigil. Everyone can say something about someone they've lost due to the violent healthcare system, or tell their own story or whatever. People will come, and that's free.
They will.
That's just let's get together to support Medicare for All.
Right.
So there's definitely ways that you can help.
Right, and sign up. Go to the website. Sign up wherever you are, and just say that. Say that I'm going to put on a visual, and it counts. Once we'll reach out to you, we'll definitely promote wherever you are. We'll give you all the promotional material, and that counts. Anything that someone wants to do, we welcome it. It's great. I love that.
And also, we do have someone who's doing a virtual.
Right.
So if you want to do one and you have a couple friends who, have been affected by the healthcare system, just live stream it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good to know, Joy, because I know some people physically can't go out.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
Oh, absolutely. We encourage that.
Yeah.
Bill put something in the chat. I want to reference this and then go to the website. I'll end with some stuff on the website, but Bill said lots of people blame poor people for their own poverty. Once you do that, you begin the road of dehumanizing them, which then allows almost any level of cruelty. Bill.
Yeah, it's true.
Right here, dude.
It's true.
That's a good point.
It's a very good point.
It's like scapegoating. It's like, let's blame them for being poor. Okay, let me pull up the website. I'm going to share my screen. Whoops, hit the wrong button.
Oh, and also, before I forget, we do have a couple speaker spots open at some of our locations. Check to see if we have a location by you, if you have a story you'd like to share. And if you do, feel free to PM me on Twitter or at M4 on Twitter, and we will see if the location nearest you has a spot available.
Right.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Here's a quick look at the website, you guys. So the march again is July 24th. If I know some of you in the chat are near me in Boston, we will be marching from, I believe it's Nubian Square. We'll end up at Boston Common. So even if you can't do the physical march per se, you can meet us at Boston Common. And then just want to scroll down. So this goes to show you we have 13 days left, you guys.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
I can't believe it. I'm so nervous.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
we're gonna have a party and a half in DC that night. Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my God. Somebody contacted my work email. I don't know how they found it, and emailed me at work and said, "Hey, can you send me information about the march in Boston?" I was like, "What? How did you find me?" But these are some of the people that are part of the coalition. Of course, you guys know Red Berets, CO Foundation for Universal Healthcare, Central Kentucky Council for Peace and Justice, Physicians for a National Health Program, PDA Central Illinois, Green Party of Kansas City. Hey, Socialist MMA is in the chat. You hear that, Nick?
Hey.
Woo!
Green Party of Kansas City. Sunrise Movement Seattle, South Chicago, Our Revolution Washington, and there's many more. Like, you guys can go on the website and scroll down.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to endorse us, absolutely, there's a link to do so on there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a quick endorsement, you guys. I filled out the form the other day, but I wanted to show you guys this. Let me see how this looks on the screen. Okay, yeah, you can see it. So it says universal healthcare isn't radical, and it lists all the countries that have universal healthcare, you guys. So definitely take a look at that if you have time. This is not something that is radical.
It's not a radical idea.
It's not. No, let me tell you. You can donate. There's a link here to donate on the website as well.
Yep.
If you're going to donate to, say, maybe me and Sharif, you can always put go DC in the comments or whatever. You're allowed to donate, like, to, if you want to donate to Boston, put Boston,
Right.
So you can specify if you want.
Right. You can do a general or you can do a specific march.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's also the shop here too, if you want to get a couple of accessories. So like hats, buttons, signs.
And in DC, we will have yellow vests printed that say Medicare for All from a wonderful gentleman named Eric. He sent us a box of them. So we will have those as well. But those were just saying, if you can donate a few bucks, just, you can have one. But they're pretty damn cool. I'll tell you that. They're pretty radical.
Yeah. And just going back to the marches again, for those of you who came in to the stream later, like Joy said, there are now how many cities, Joy?
Like
42.
Yeah.
42.
Yeah, it's wild.
So you can see them all. Oh my God, Silva, North Carolina. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the map down below too. It's crazy. It's like I'm still floored.
Let me go to the map. This is awesome.
I have a feeling I'm just gonna bawl. That's why I'm scared about being MC, because I'm just gonna be like, oh my God, it's happening.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'm gonna like cry. I'm not even gonna lie.
Same.
I have to introduce Reverend Annie Chambers, Black Panther. Like, I'm just gonna be like, someone else do this. Oh my God.
Right.
Oh my God. I'm gonna be a mess.
I know. I was just like after when Sharif asked if I would do this, I was like, yeah, sure. And then I thought about it a couple days later, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in front of so many people.
Yeah. It's people don't realize when you do a show, it's so much less stress than when you're in front of people.
Right.
Even though more people are watching, it doesn't matter.
Right.
That is true, Joy.
You don't have to look at them.
Right.
When you're like, well, I don't know if they're judging me. I don't care because I can't see them. Where in person, you're like, you may see some scowls or, or people talking on their phone while you're trying to talk or, out of van.
Someone asked about, I'm not sure about this one, but James Root asked about Miami.
No, we have Tampa and Orlando.
Yeah.
So if you want to do a Miami one, go for it. I would love that. Actually, it'd be awesome. We still have people who ask questions about so many different marches, and I think that they're just waiting for that one to pop up to volunteer. But again, like I said, if you want to do something, you can keep it simple. And again, if you have a bike, you and your buddies can just get on a bike, and that also counts.
If you don't see it, feel free to reach out to us and say, hey, I don't see Miami on the list. Is there one in the works? If there is, we will connect you to the person who's doing it. So, we won't tell you to create it unless it's not already being worked on, and then you can join who's already working on it.
Right. We won't do two marches in the same city. So like New York already has one. We won't do another one in New York City. New York State, yes, but not New York City.
That makes sense. Brown Bathrobe said, I'm laughing at that name. I'm sorry.
What's his name?
Brown Bathrobe. It said, do you know if there are any international marches planned? Oh.
No, I mean, what Sabrina just brought up, that, universal healthcare is in so many other countries. We're the only one late to the party. So if anyone does anything international, will be the fact that to make fun of us because why does America has no healthcare?
Well, in fairness, I mean, they joined us for George Floyd.
That's true.
That's sometimes, when I interview people from the UK on my show, they just absolutely cannot fathom us not having it.
Right.
So we don't know of any, but hell, if someone, oh man, that would be so incredible.
I love
to have
that.
Solidarity with us.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to bring on someone who lives in Canada right now. They were very, I guess, involved with the whole healthcare, universal healthcare in Canada. Hopefully, I can get them on before the march happens because they have some information.
And that'd be a good strategy plan too. Ask them what did you guys do? What are some tips and some tricks that we can use to do this here?
Yep. What have they learned from it? Right. Greg said it's a disgrace that 65 to 70% of American people support Medicare for all, but we'd be lucky to get 3 U.S. senators to vote for it.
And it really is it really is a nonpartisan thing. In DC, we have Dr. Joe Jarvis speaking. He is a conservative.
Yep.
And he is speaking for Medicare for all. He's written a book on how necessary it is. So when they say, oh, it's just a bunch of commies no, it's literally, we saw Bernard get standing ovations on Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
People, this is nonpartisan. This is, people need this.
Now, do you guys, go ahead, Sharif, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, people be surprised with how many different people from different political backgrounds are organizing and that are volunteering to help, Republicans, Democrats, Green Party members, MPP members, people who don't vote. There's so many different people from all spectrums are getting involved. So that alone just tells you that is a nonpartisan issue. If all these different people with different backgrounds are not arguing about their political backgrounds and saying, how do we get Medicare for all? That's amazing. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. And that's why I tell you guys, that's why I say that's the thing about talking to people on the other side, talking to people on the right, because I know Republicans that agree with universal health care. You don't know that if you don't talk to them. So we can't just stay like in our little bubble here.
Agreed. Definitely agreed.
One more. Hedges Gospel. Anyone know anything about the marches in mid-sized cities, Raleigh, Charleston, Syracuse, places like that? Syracuse, New York,
Yeah,
or
probably in Syracuse, New York. I mean, I did a protest earlier this year in Albany. Albany would be a good place. That's the capital of New York. That would be a good place to do that if someone want to do something there.
It looks like all the ones she mentioned, Raleigh. It looks like Hedges Gospel. All the ones in North Carolina are in Western North Carolina, which, having lived there, that makes perfect sense to me, because that area out there near the mountains, they tend to be further to the left. Mm-hmm. Raleigh can be very corporate. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised about Charleston. I know they had big support for Bernie. That would be a good one. Let me look down and see. But I do want to give a huge shout out to all the organizers, because I got to tell you guys, man, in Savage Joy, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. It is not easy to get people to come speak.
It really isn't.
No, I've taken the reins on the majority of the marches to book the speakers and bands and stuff, and that shit's a full-time job. It really is.
It really is.
I mean, without pay, but
yeah, because we're basically asking them to do it's a favor. It's not like,
absolutely. Right. Like, you say you support this, how much? Because can you come here like on your own dime and speak? And I am floored by the amount of so-called big names that are just absolutely sign me up. First person I asked was Marianne Williamson. That she's a dear friend, and within an hour, absolutely. So, I mean, people. Oh, and I thank you for that, because you're the one that gave me the contact initially.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And now we're close. So, I owe that to you.
Well, she's one of those people. Like, she's really awesome with like. She's not one of those people that's like, I'll only talk to larger platforms. She's not like that, you know. She's really genuine.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she did a fundraiser for me.
That's amazing.
To get my blind accessibility equipment. Like, she is the coolest person. Like, I adore her to pieces. So that's why I was like, first person I'm asking is Marianne, and I knew she'd say yes. Because she's amazing.
I tried to get you guys are gonna laugh at me, but I tried to get Chumsky, you guys.
That'd be amazing.
Because I'm in Boston and he taught at MIT, and I used to work at MIT. He replied immediately, said he's proud of what we're doing. Unfortunately, he's like, I live in Arizona now, so I was like, what?
Wait a minute, we have a march in Arizona.
I was like, and it's funny too, because my husband was like, he's like almost 100 years old, right?
What? Maybe he can do a video for us, go out to the march, because like we had Marianne do one. It's just 2 minutes. Like, this is why we need Medicare for All, and then give our website and a date.
Right.
Come on now.
That is true. Yeah, I know, man. And he gonna have to make that video quick, because the last interview I saw him, he was talking. I was like, oh Lord, it's gonna take him 15 minutes to answer this question. I was like, come on, just answer the question. Oh man.
You know what would be cool? Jill Stein. That would be cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
If anybody out there listening, if you know how to reach Jill, let us know.
Right.
Let us know.
I booked Dr. Margaret Flowers for DC. I'm sure she has her.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's really, I didn't think about that. That's awesome.
That's a good point. Yeah, so I just want to give a shout out to, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, but I want to give a shout out to all the organizers, all of you out there, because like I said, people criticizing the organizers and stuff, guys, this stuff is not easy work. It's hard and it takes a lot of hours. And on top of that, still working your regular job. Joy still had, doing her show along with all of this. The fact that we have like 42 cities in that short amount of time, I think is phenomenal. I think everybody needs to give themselves a big applause, like seriously, because the people sitting back criticizing that aren't doing anything, it's easier to pick things apart when you're not trying to do anything yourself.
Right.
It just is what it is.
And then we welcome the help too. Like if anyone wants to help, they have more experience than me or anyone else, I would gladly take it. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So you guys got anything else you want to plug? I'm gonna put the website link in the chat one more time before I peace out.
Joy, anything you think we forgot to mention?
I am starting to make posts, hashtag why we march. If you'd like to make a short video or type something up about, why you want Medicare for all, you don't have to actually physically march. But I figured we can make a hashtag why we march, and just share your story. Send it to us. We'll post it. It can be difficult. I shared my story for the first time in front of 130,000 people, so I get it. But yeah, I mean, if you don't want to do a video, just type something up, hashtag why we march, and we'd appreciate it.
Right. Also, too, Joy, we also talked about demands we're actually going to have at the march. That's something that we're actually going to put on the website as well. So that's something. Be on the lookout for that. We're going to start tweeting that out as well. We mentioned section of the section 1881A, the Social Security Act. That's one of the demands we're actually going to have. Just anyone who's curious about that.
Awesome. Guys, thanks so much for coming on. Again, I appreciate like all your work and what you do, especially like the organizers. We're all across like different time zones. Like people don't realize that I can't just go like knock on their door. We don't live in the same states. So I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job.
Oh, Sabrina, thank you. And once again, this work it's a heavy lift and we're all doing it together. So it's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Thanks to everyone who gave super chat. You're awesome. We love you. Again, if you want to support FHL, you can go to kofi.com/FHL network. Until then, see you later, guys. Bye.